What's going on, friends? James here from Miami Strong Gym, and in today's video I'm going to go over with you 4 of my favorite shoulder exercises that are going to help develop bigger and even wider shoulders for you. So let's talk about the shoulder itself a little bit and about the muscles that are inside the shoulder and how different exercises work different areas of the muscle group altogether. The shoulder is made up of several different muscles here. So we have the front deltoid, which is going to come right here at the front, and then we have the lateral deltoid or the side deltoid. It's right over here in this area. It's more or less the cap of your entire shoulder. And then we have the rear deltoid, which is around this area, around the back, coming up to the top of your trap, and the acromion process joint here. It's all within this area. Now these muscles work in different conjunctions with different exercises, and I'm gonna go through some of the best ones to get the most out of your shoulder exercises to make sure you build bigger and wider shoulders. So let me jump right into the first exercise, and that's going to be the Arnold Press. Let's take a look. So the Arnold Press is an exercise very similar to a shoulder press, where the shoulder press, you're moving straight up and down, which is a foundational movement of the deltoid. You're probably very familiar with this movement. I'm going to show you a pressing motion combined with an external-internal rotation movement that's going to benefit your shoulders a little bit more, and you're going to be forced to stabilize the core and the serratus anterior muscle, which is in here, developing those bigger shoulders. So it's going to look like this. You start in this position with the elbows close to each other, hands are close to each other. You could have it slightly elevated or slightly lower. I like to keep it a little bit lower because I have more core stability here. As I externally rotate, my position is here. Now the thing you see with this exercise, a lot of people do, they'll come out and they'll externally rotate too much. And when you externally rotate too much with the shoulder, you put a lot of pressure on the joint here. So to get in the proper position with this Arnold press, you start right here. Your wrist rotates simultaneously as the shoulder and chest expand, locking your position right here. Now, as you can see from the side right here, I'm completely in line with my body. I'm not turned out at all. So when I rotate out, boom, it goes right there, not anywhere past it. So let's get into the actual motion of the press and put everything together here. So you start here, externally rotate, wrist follow that rotation. I'm right here in my pressing position, neutral. I press straight up. I come together in that press. I come back down carefully. Now again with this pressing motion, and it stands for any pressing motion overall, when I press straight up, my forearms should be completely perpendicular with the ground, and I'm squeezing very, very tight. I also don't want my wrists to roll back, putting that pressure on the elbow or the shoulder joint. Neutral wrist, forearms are completely perpendicular to the ground, and I press straight up. Stomach is sucked in, my back isn't arching, I'm straight up with the body. I come down carefully to the starting position, I rotate back in, and that's 1 rep. That is the Arnold press. So rotate out, press straight up, come back down, rotate back in, that's 2 reps. So this motion is fantastic for developing shoulder width and strength because you're combining your foundational movement of a press along with the external rotation with the rear deltoids, the lateral deltoids. And because you're combining that move with the external rotation, with the rear deltoids and the lateral deltoids to really develop overall width and size of those shoulders right there. All right, everybody, let's go into the second exercise. I want to show you how to develop wider shoulders. So we have the Arnold press, combination of a regular pressing motion with that external rotation. That's going to help develop that width and contract more muscles on those rear delts as far as the lateral delts because of that extra movement. Now, one of my second favorite movements is a lateral raise. Now, here's the thing with shoulders. The shoulder is a slightly complicated muscle to develop only because it's in this ball and socket of the shoulder joint. So you can move this way, you can move that way, you can move behind yourself. Now the thing is with any muscle, a muscle is going to work its best when it's stretched and it's contracted. Now the thing is with the shoulder doesn't really stretch to its maximum potential because it stops here at your waist. Now for example with the lateral raise, if I'm here with a dumbbell and I raise up, yes, I'm contracting at the peak, but when I come down, I'm not getting a full stretch because this is my neutral position. The lateral delt has no way of stretching. So the only way of stretching is coming past that center point, which would be here at the shoulder joint, either in front of me or slightly behind me. Now what I like to do is use a resistance band or use a cable to get a little bit behind my back and get that peak stretch in the shoulder itself So now I'm really working that concentric motion and coming up to the eccentric, and I have a full range of motion. So let me show you the exercise. So here I have the resistance band. I'm gonna show you what it looks like as far as coming in deep to a stretch, coming into the movement itself. And if you don't have a resistance band, you could use a cable machine or whatever you have available, but as long as you're going through this motion. So here I'm staying slightly away. And again, this is important as far as form. I don't want to slouch over and let my body get pulled within me, because what's happening is my scapula is now dropping and I am not stabilizing the glute medius or the core to stand up tall. So I want to make sure I stand up tall. Start here. The band is coming slightly behind. I come up to a regular lateral raise and I let it go back down. Now it's pulling me in. I'm controlling, upper body strong. Come in and I come up in the raise. Get a nice deep stretch there, and I come in and I get that lateral raise. So what I like to do here, I'm not using a very heavy resistance band, but because this motion is small and the muscle is a small muscle group, you don't need to use that heavy of a weight. Just like arms, I mentioned in another video, a smaller muscle group doesn't require that much weight to be highly effective. You could do around 15 to 20 reps with something like this. As you get more experience with it and you develop more strength, you use a heavier resistance band or you use a heavier weight stack on your cable machine. So as you can see, the lateral raise is highly effective, and it's even more effective when that muscle goes in that full range of motion. And this is something I highly recommend including in all your routines that involve shoulders. Okay, so the third exercise I want to show you and go over with you is the front raise. Now the front raise is very important as far as shoulder development because you're working the front delts. Now again, right here, there's a small strip of muscle. It's a very small, and it comes here and it connects to the shoulder joint right here and to the top of the chest. This is going to help develop shoulders with a little bit more width, a little more density right here in the front of your chest. So the way to work these out, and you've probably seen this before, is very simple dumbbell raise. Now what I don't like about the dumbbell raise is when you're pulling the weight away from your body, and let's say you have 15 or 20 pounds in your hand, the load comes out away from you and it's hard to control without that scapular strength or the stability from your core and stability from the rear delts and the lateral delts. So what happens is when you come back down, this comes up, your scapula comes up, your shoulder joint gets a lot of pressure, and you're not able to control it down. So what I like about you doing it with a cable or resistance band, you have to force your serratus muscle to control a little bit more, and you have to control it pulling down because the force is pulling away from you at the same time. So you have to pull it back using these muscles that stabilize it, that keep you from hiking up the shoulder. So let me show you what it looks like. So here I have a resistance band. You could use a heavier resistance band or a lighter resistance band. So I'm doubling it up here just to get a little bit more resistance for my shoulder. So as I come here, again, I let the muscle stretch behind me. And when I come up, I stay stable in the core here, and I don't let this hike up at all. And now I'm working the front delt. I come back down, stable, let it stretch, and I come up explosively, working out the front delt. Just like that, you come through the stretching motion, and you come up explosively, working the front delt. Right here, all the muscles in here are at its maximum. And the higher you come, you get more work there. Stretch, and you work it. Stretch, and you work it. So what I like to do with this exercise, just as I said, with the lateral motion, you don't need a lot of weight to work out those deltoid muscles. Stick with a higher rep range with a lighter weight. You'll still be highly effective as you get more experience with the movement. Up the weight stack on your cable or up the resistance on your resistance band. You get that much more benefit from it, and also keeping a safe, highly effective movement in your routine. Again, around 15 rep range is where I like to be for these smaller muscle group movements. All right, let's jump right into the fourth exercise I want to show you, how to develop wider and bigger shoulders. So the last muscle area of the shoulder is the rear deltoid. Now what you see a lot of people is they use the dumbbells to do one of these. They'll be here and you see them swinging with the dumbbell to try to get that motion. And what generally happens when people are doing this exercise is they don't have the strength, again, to control on the way down, so it pulls their shoulder girdle forward, the scapula comes forward, put a lot of pressure on the joint here and then the neck. And they go through the swinging pattern, but what happens is the scapula isn't stable and it's not isolating the rear delts back here. So for a lot of these lateral movements, what I like to do is I like to use a resistance band or I like to use a cable, and anything that comes away from the body is going to be very effective at isolating these individual muscles in the shoulder joint to develop them bigger and wider. So let's take a look at what I like to do for the rear delt. So I have the resistance band set up here. And what I like to do is I actually like to grab it with my wrist palm down So I hold it here, and as I go through the motion, I adjust my core strength. I'm in a square stance. I'm not staggered at all. I'm more stability here in the core, and I'm leaned forward, chest is slightly out, and I'm engaged right here in the serratus and the lats. And as I come up, I'm isolating and I'm squeezing the back of the shoulder. And right there, I get the maximum amount of resistance for the rear delt. And I come up nice and high, and the higher I come, the more I get out of it. And again, the benefit of using a resistance band or cable is I'm constantly fighting resistance back, and it forces me to stabilize a little bit more. And then in that bottom position, I'm already being pulled and I'm already being stretched. So I'm going through that full range of concentric and eccentric motion. Here at the bottom, concentric pulling me, eccentric at the top, I'm squeezing and contracting the muscle in its peak position. So again, with the rear delt exercise, I like to stay in a high rep range. It's a very small muscle group. It doesn't need a lot of weight to be exercised, and you're gonna get tremendous benefits from doing this around the 15 rep range, keeping the resistance band light or keeping your cable stack light to get the most use and the proper form when you're doing these exercises. So there you have it, friends. Those are 4 of my favorite shoulder developing exercises. If you want to build wider and more dense shoulders, it'll help you fill out your shirts a little bit better, and it'll make your chest and upper body look a little bit bigger. Overall, these are the 4 exercises I do regularly. They're exercises I've been doing for years to develop my shoulders, and I almost always include them in my routine. What I like to do sometimes, I'll take some of the exercises, for example, the Arnold Press, and I'll superset that with lateral raise behind my back. And I'll do those exercises back to back. And then I'll take that front raise with the band and I'll superset that with the bent over raise for the rear delt. This way my workouts are faster and they're more efficient. And as you can see, I'm sweating right now just from doing this demo for you. You can only imagine how you're gonna feel when you're going through the rep ranges and doing these exercises on your own in your routine. Stick to at least 3 to 4 sets of around 10 to 15 reps for these exercises. And I promise you, you're gonna see results quickly within those shoulders, and you're gonna see that width come very, very fast and safely. Thank you for watching the video, friends. Hopefully you're enjoying the content. If you are, give us a thumbs up. Let us know in the comments what you think, other videos that you would think you'd like to see, and more information that you'd like to know. I'll see you in the next video.